Welcome back to Insecurity. We are still in New York City for the BlackBerry World Tour. New York, something special to our guest, Shaun Stalker. Shaun, you are the what?
The regional sales director for the Northeast for BlackBerry Cylance.
So, just little burgs like New York, Philadelphia, Boston,
That's
Rochester.
Right. Yep.
You've got a unique perspective, and I know a lot of people are like, why do I want to hear from a sales guy? Certainly not a director.
Sure.
But you've really got your fingers on the pulse because you're out there talking to users,
Absolutely.
talking to customers.
Yes.
What are you hearing?
I think it's a really great opportunity here where everyone's coming into the event today is talking about the same thing about the synergies between BlackBerry and Cylance and what we're bringing to it. And in the earlier part of today, they talked about zero trust and what are we doing about it? And they're talking about mobile threats and what are we doing about it? And I think that's where that synergy is showing where, we're protecting the endpoint, they were protecting the mobile devices. Now we're getting to a point of saying, well, there's threats on the mobile device. How are we protecting us? Well, we're pulling in our AI through Cylance onto the BlackBerry devices. We're then also looking at user behavior as they were developing things on the mobile devices. We were doing it on the desktop. So it's amazing that two companies came together. We're thinking about the same thing in their area, their sphere of expertise, and it's just a really nice fit.
Are your guys coming back from the field and they're saying, man, this is the one thing. Every time we come out of this, like, when are you guys going to do blank? Like, what do you feel people are the most curious about? Maybe technology that's not quite ready, but it's on the horizon.
Sure. I think it goes back to zero trust. Everyone realizes that I'm working here in a hotel, or actually at the New York Stock Exchange, I'm working in a hotel, I'm working at Starbucks. How do I trust that individual? And I think it comes down to user behavior. Everyone has a pattern. I wake up at a certain time in the morning, I look at certain websites, I walk at a certain speed, I access certain data. So it's really about that zero trust and looking at user behavior, and I think that's really what we're calling internally persona. And we're gonna have persona for the mobile, we're gonna have persona for your desktop or laptop, so we're gonna get to a trust model where I'm able to log myself off, or it will log myself off based off of what I'm doing or not doing, based off of my user behavior and my trust score. That's where we're going as a company, and that's where I think people really need it, because you can have perimeter defenses, you can have DLP, but it still breaks. People are spending billions of dollars, and it doesn't work. So I think you have to really go to that zero trust model and embrace it, and user behavior is a key piece of that.
Talk about user behavior. Anything when you go into either a prospect or existing customer and you're looking around, you're just like, come on, man. Haven't we talked about this before? Haven't we been talking about this before?
We were just talking about this morning, and we talk about you have to tell someone 3 to 4 times. It's probably more about 10, 15, 20 times, because people don't quite understand. They still talk about BlackBerry being a device, and I loved your BlackBerry. Well, yeah, we did that 5 years ago.
I loved it too.
Yeah, we loved it too, and people say, oh, okay, why did BlackBerry buy Cylance? And I think John Chen talked about it today, and it's really about the synergy of bringing our companies together, and we're just re-educating people about what are you doing around cybersecurity. You have your mobile security, you have your UEM, that's great. We're doing the stuff on the endpoint, but what are you doing around educating your employees? What are you doing about looking at where you compromise? Are you doing pen testing? There's so much more that we as a joint company bring to the table, and people don't still understand the big picture of what we do. So we're constantly going out there re-educating our customers and our prospects and partners about everything that we do, from staff augmentation to pen testing, red teams, looking at medical devices. That's something we talked about earlier today. That's a great thing. You have a father or a mother that has a pacemaker. Well, that's an endpoint. That's IoT. Well, it's great that some of these other companies have gone public and there's a lot of buzz. Well, what are they doing to protect IoT? IoT is everything. It's your refrigerator saying you're out of milk. It's my pacemaker going back to my doctor. So that's where we're in a very unique position, where we're talking to people about OEMing our technology onto those mobile devices that are in for hospitals. It's when you're walking into it, every endpoint that's gathering your customer information, your private information, how's it being stored, how's it being protected. That's a great conversation we're having that I don't think everyone's really embracing yet.
Now, last thing, you mentioned staff augmentation in that voluminous answer, which was awesome. But when you and I talked about that earlier, that caught my attention because it's not something that I'm familiar with. What does that mean?
Sure, that's where we're going out to our customers saying, listen, we know that you don't have enough people in your SOC, they're not technically trained, we have a deficit of employees or potential employees that you're trying to hire. Where's that hole? What can we help you with? And that's where we're talking to them about, hey, listen, if you have someone that you need a threat hunter, you need someone who needs to implement our technology, you need someone to help you build out a SOC, we have this staff log that we can go in there and we can do wonderful things with you at a lower cost and help you get to that prevention state, or get you to that point that you want to be. As you're looking at NIST framework, you're looking at your MITRE framework, and it shows you the holes. We have staff that we can bring in and help you get to that point where then you're protected and you can go back to your CEO, CFO and say, hey, check that off, we're actually there.
Write it down. We can do wonderful things with you. So saith Shaun Stalker. If they're looking for you out in the world, anything going on the socials, where can people find you?
Come to Philadelphia.
There we go. Easy enough.
No, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm constantly on LinkedIn, and I'm probably the only stalker at BlackBerry Cylance.
Those jokes just write themselves.
Yeah, they just write themselves. So come hit me up. Happy to talk to you.
And you know where to find us. All the good stuff is at threatvector.cylance.com. On Twitter, we are at BlackBerry and at Cylance Inc. I'm Matt Stephenson. Look for me at PacMatt73. All kinds of good stuff. Stick around.